haunted by over 750 Civil War entities. From soldiers to doctors to women and children, people have reported sightings and encounters of these ghosts, and there are several places around this area that are considered to be much more haunted than others. We're going to visit those places throughout this documentary. However, first, we're going to go over to Marietta Trolley Company, which owns and operates the Marietta Ghost Tour, and talk to Colin Cash, the business development manager, who's going to tell us a little more history on these ghosts.
Well, Marietta is very haunted. Most of our stories that we have revolve around the Civil War. Some of the most popular stories that we have involve the old Kennesaw House, which is where the Marietta Museum of History is. They have actually been featured on some of the ghost hunter type TV shows, and we've had paranormal investigators come in and say that they have identified something like 750 different entities in the building. We also have some stories about actual sightings, full body apparitions that people have seen around the square. One of which is a soldier that appears at Schilling's restaurant on the square. We had both a Confederate and a national cemetery here in Marietta. So during the Civil War, there were many dead soldiers that were brought into the city to be buried. So there would be times when these dead soldiers would be stacked up in the middle of the Marietta Square, sometimes 5 and 6 bodies high. And if you believe in ghosts and spirits, then you know that many times a ghost is someone that has been killed or died in a very traumatic manner.
We're here at the Kennesaw House, literally in the heart of Marietta Square. Built as a cotton warehouse in the 1840s, the Kennesaw House was known as a makeshift hospital and morgue during the Civil War. Stories of people witnessing sightings of Civil War surgeons drenched in blood, nurses running through the hall, and Civil War soldiers actually screaming in agony. We haven't gained access to this particular building quite yet, but just standing here, it feels like there's something else here. So I think we're just gonna stand outside.
A lot of people that grew up in the area know the story of Mary Minert. She is buried at the St. James Episcopal Cemetery, which is right over near the old Marietta High School, which is Marietta Middle School. And the legend goes that Mary and her 2 infant children were unable to escape from a house fire, and they all perished together. And so the headstone that she has is actually a statue of her holding her 2 babies. And the legend goes that if you go to the cemetery and conditions have to be just right, I think it's like it has to be a Friday the 13th, it has to be raining, there's all these certain things that it has to be. But supposedly if you go around and around the statue 13 times and say, "Mary, Mary, where are your children?" that she will actually cry. And people say that you can see the water stains on the statue that have like stained her top where she's been crying.
I'm actually standing here in front of St. James Episcopal Cemetery, where the Mary Minert statue is actually located. As you can see, it's clearly locked. We can't get in there to actually see Mary Minert herself. However, this is the spot where she is buried and where she is holding her 2 babies. This is reported to be one of the most haunted spots in Marietta, as Miss Colin Cash explained to us earlier, that if you walk around the statue 13 times, you can actually see her crying in memoriam of her babies.
Hi, my name is Dan Flincham. I am the manager at Ghost of Marietta Tours in Marietta, Georgia. I started out about a year ago as a tour guide, and roughly about 5 months ago I was promoted to tour manager. So we have several stops along the tour. We stop at the Kennesaw House, to name one, the Golf at the Wind Museum, we stop at the Cop Marietta Museum Park, we stop at Johnny the Kraken's, Chili's, Strand Theater, a couple other places along the way. All of our stories that we've got have been fact-based for the history and ran through the Marietta Museum of History for validation. And then we've collected different stories of the paranormal in conjunction with these different places that we go.
I'm standing here outside Marietta Trolley Company. We're actually getting ready to take one of these famous Marietta ghost tours, and hopefully we'll be able to catch one of these ghosts in action tonight.
When Jody was writing the tour, she went to the city to find out, what she could about these tunnel entryways. Now, they weren't always closed up, but since we've been around, they have been closed up. So we were very curious what they were used for. Now, when she went to the city, apparently it was a big deal because they said it was off limits. They didn't have anything to say about it, making it very mysterious. So, of course, there's a lot of theories. A lot of people who work and hang out in the square had a lot of theories what they might be used for. Some people thought that they may have been used just for coal for the train, but other people thought that maybe they were part of the Underground Railroad. But we thought if they're as obvious as they are now, that it was probably unlikely that they were used for the Underground Railroad. Others, though, thought that there was a way to get munitions into the square. Others also thought that it was a way for the Confederate soldiers to make a quick escape should the square be taken over by the Union soldiers. From 1863 to 1864, the building here became a Civil War hospital, with the first 3 floors treating the dying and the wounded. They actually did surgery up on the 3rd floor, and the 4th floor was used as the morgue. One gentleman was coming back. He was staying here as it was a hotel. He came in through the doors here, went over to the elevator, got on the elevator, went up to the 3rd floor where his room was. And when the doors opened, they opened what he said was a scene out of a Civil War hospital. Went into the elevator and came back down to the 1st floor here and went over to the agent working at the desk, and he said, "Are they having a reenactment up on my floor?" And the gentleman said, "No, not that I'm aware of." And so together this time they got on the elevator, they went up to the 3rd floor, and this time when the elevator doors opened, they opened to an empty hallway. The building originally was built in 1932, and there was an explosion. It was built a little before that, but there was an explosion. It was the Najir department store, and in 1932 on Halloween, it actually blew up. They believe that was due to a faulty heater, and there was no deaths as a result. But that didn't stop the building from being haunted just the same. A lot of the reports here have been seeing shadowy figures up in the balcony, also hearing a scream, a very loud scream coming from the balcony when there's nobody in there. Also, they've seen shadowy figures in the wings.
Well, guys, I'm sorry we weren't able to capture a glimpse of a ghost on this tour. However, I hope some of you get to come to Marietta to take a tour of your own one day, and maybe you'll be able to catch one of these ghosts. See y'all later!